What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel, check out the content. And with that being said, I want to discuss something that came out, I think it was this past weekend, right? And the topic was Shedeur Sanders had the opportunity, or he had an offer from the Ravens, right? And the Ravens they were thinking about drafting Shedeur Sanders. And so if this report was true, they put the offer on the table, and Shedeur Sanders rejected the offer and turned it down. And so or my last podcast, I spoke about it with, with my some of my guys. We were on a podcast and we talked about it. But I kind of want to talk about it again because I think like there's some points that I didn't get to make in the last podcast, and then I wanted to bring that up. Also, I wanted to make those points on this podcast. Also, I want to respond to something that what Jason Whitlock had to say about it, right? And I thought that Jason Whitlock made some good points, but like I said, I want to add my 2 cents to it. And so, with that being said, let me see if I can find this audio of Jason Whitlock on his show speaking about it. And here we go.
Shedeur Sanders told the Baltimore Ravens, don't draft me. Don't draft me at number 141. They were like 3 picks before the Cleveland Browns. The Baltimore Ravens were going to draft Shedeur. They called Shedeur before doing that. And Shedeur told them, nah, I don't want to sit behind Lamar Jackson. I want to be in a place where there's more of an opportunity to play. This kid's brain dead. This kid has been badly mentored by his father. This kid's ego is out of control. This kid has no idea what he passed up. The Cleveland Browns are one of the worst franchises in all of sports, one of the worst run franchises. They're a laughingstock. The Baltimore Ravens are considered one of the premier franchises in all of sports. This dude could have been mentored by Lamar Jackson. This dude could have played for an elite coaching staff. And I'm not taking a shot at Kevin Stefanski, but what John Harbaugh and the Ravens have done over the course of like 15 years, I want to go somewhere where I can play early. How about saying, hey man, didn't Aaron Rodgers sit for 3 years and then turn into one of the greatest quarterbacks we ever seen? Hadn't that been the history for Steve Young, sat for several years behind Joe Montana? Sitting and learning from an all-time great. Didn't Patrick Mahomes sit and learn from Alex Smith before taking the reins? Shedeur Sanders is going for instant gratification. This is my problem with Shedeur and Deion. No self-awareness, no savvy. You do not turn down the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, and that organization. So you can 3 picks later go to the Cleveland Browns. Oh, that's right. I'm sure when the Ravens called, they probably called and said something that was racist. And, that's why Shedeur didn't want to go. But let's blame racism for Shedeur's idiocy.
All right, so that's one way to look at it. And I didn't really think about the way that Jason Whitlock said, like as far as like he could have been, his ego could have played into it. Number one, or he could have had the opportunity to be under the tutelage of Lamar Jackson, right? I kind of looked at it almost the same way as Jason Whitlock, though, because I think like old school, the old school way of looking at it is, if we was to get drafted, we would have been happy with like the opportunity to go anywhere. So any team in the NFL, you're expecting, and that's how most players are today, right? And that's just not in the old school. It's just that he has different opportunities and different options that most people don't have. right? Anybody who get drafted, most people who get drafted in the NFL or any professional sport, you any team you go to, most likely you're going to be happy, whether it's the Cleveland Browns, the Baltimore Ravens, Miami Dolphins, Pittsburgh Steelers, like, and then when you get there, then you'll worry about like making it work. So that's why a lot of people really can't identify with his decision, or at least older people probably can't identify with his decision to reject that offer, right? And that's how I kind of looked at it, because I feel like he has options though. He because if football don't work out for Shedeur Sanders, then he can do something else. And so that right there is a double-edged sword, right? And so if football begins, because the same thing is going on with his brother Shiloh. If Shiloh didn't, what team? Tampa Bay let Shiloh go. Shiloh goes on to social media and says that if football don't work out for him, then he'll be okay and he could do other things. And so immediately when we hear things like that, we think that, well, maybe his heart wasn't all the way in it. If he can, if he can just leave and drop football that easy, then maybe he wasn't all the way in it. Whereas though, like most people, like I said, their position is they putting all their eggs in that one basket. So if they're trying out for a football team and they don't make the football team, they'll really be heartbroken, because that's all they've, like, from Pop Warner, high school through college, like that's all they work for. That was the ultimate goal, the destination. That's their dream, is to play in the NFL, right? And if you get cut from that, you'll be heartbroken, and you won't come on social media and say, well, I'll be okay, I have other things to do. So that right there is not a bad thing. And I'm not just saying like having that approach to that is a bad thing, but that's different. And that's something that most people like are not in a position to, they don't understand, because they don't have the options. Like I said, like Shedeur Sanders, like Shiloh Sanders, like they'll be able, before they even play football, they, like they come from their father had money. And then so they'll have opportunities that most people that they play football with won't, unless they make these teams. They won't have those type of opportunities, right? So, and like I said, now as a sports fan, will you like would you get to see the best out of those guys if they know that they already have a plan B? That's like a double-edged sword. Like, you want somebody, and most superstars, that's how they feel about their sport. Like, they are all in. If they don't, I mean, they are all in, all their eggs in one basket. If they don't make that sport, they are going to be heartbroken. And it's different with kids like Shiloh and Shedeur, who was, they were brought up to play football, but if they don't, they understand and they know that they have other options. So now, coming like with that, would you be able to turn a kid like that into a superstar unless they really wanted it? I think you can, because I think like Peyton Manning is a he's an example of that. Like Peyton Manning, his father played professional football, so he could have had that very same approach. Like, if I don't make it here and I don't make it into football, then I could do other things, right? But I don't see I didn't see that from Peyton Manning like I do Shedeur and Shiloh Sanders. It just seemed like, he took to football and he was all in on football. He had all his eggs in that one basket. So as a parent or somebody who's coaching or mentoring a kid like that, like, should you encourage them to have other interests, or should you tell them, have them go all in on like whatever their sport is, like go all in and be the best you can be? Because I think that if, and I'm just guessing, right, but I think that like it has Shiloh or Shedeur Sanders had that type of attitude, then maybe they would be, even not that they're not good, but that probably would take them to another level, because that focus, like Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion, is a good quarterback, right? But could he be even better had he, if he didn't have any other options, or he didn't look at it in a way where as though he had any other options, and so he would not have turned down the Baltimore Ravens. He'd have been like, wherever I go at, I'm just gonna make it work. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to make it work, because this is my shot. This is my opportunity. That's just like I said, I was talking about head coaches and coaching jobs in the NFL. Like if you want to be an NFL coach, there's only 32 of those jobs. And if somebody offer you a job, and somebody as an NFL head coach in the NFL, and you've been a high school coach, you've been Pop Warner high school on the college staff, and then you college coach, and then somebody say, well, do you want to coach the Cleveland Browns? You were like, nah, y'all don't really have a solid quarterback, or y'all don't, this team is not good enough. You're not going to do that. I can't really see too many coaches. Sometimes a coach will be in a position where they might have to pick, have that option where as though they can choose what team they coach. But for the most part, when your number is called, you just gotta, most people just gotta go with whatever team is calling them. They don't have to, like, okay, like I want to coach. The Pittsburgh Steelers. I like that organization. Or I want to coach the Baltimore Ravens. I like that organization. So it's just not that Shedeur Sanders' decision was wrong, in my opinion. I just think that Shedeur Sanders and Shiloh Sanders, they just have options. And I don't think that their egos played into it too much. I think that they got options that most kids that come up playing football don't have, so they can make those type of decisions. Now, it can work against you, but I don't think, I don't think there's anything wrong with having options. It can work against you sometimes because you may not have that passion. Especially if it's instilled in you early that, okay, if this don't work out, you got a plan B. You don't even want to talk about plan B if that's your dream. You like, nah, and ain't no such thing as plan B. I'm all in. And then that's when you get the best out of yourself, because if you all in, like, ain't no turning back. So that's basically what I wanted to say about the Shedeur Sanders situation, him passing on. I mean, cool. Let's say this though. If he'd have had the opportunity, he took that opportunity, and he'd have went and played, behind Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson, let's say Lamar Jackson played for another 5, 6, 7 years, and Shedeur Sanders was patient enough to sit on a bench like that. Like, can you expect him to do that? I don't know. He's betting on himself. So hopefully things will work out for him. And that's why I didn't really say too much about it on the podcast with the fellas, because Lamar Jackson not going nowhere. Like, barring injury, Lamar Jackson is going to be there. And it's not like, Lamar Jackson is in his mid to late 30s, and he on his way out. I think Shedeur would have been like, okay, cool. This is an opportunity. Like, if Lamar Jackson was like Joe Flacco, you can see why he would prefer to play behind Joe Flacco, learn from Joe Flacco, and then, in a year or two, had the opportunity to. So I don't think it was, in my opinion, I don't think it was a bad decision. I think a lot of people who was in Shedeur Sanders, shoes, probably would have made that same decision. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.